Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose, man. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm over there on Instagram as well. And why don't you go to Spread Shop, man, and get some of the Hood Champion merchandise. I'd appreciate it and consider becoming a member. Now, look, man, Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Look, it's a sad fight, all right? Am I excited to watch it? Yeah, I'm excited to watch it because I think these guys are going to bring a lot of emotion into the ring, and neither one want to lose, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to ensure they give themselves the best chance of victory. I think both are deathly passionate about getting a win. But I saw something yesterday, man, with Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. There's a lot of hurt there, man. There's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of expectation there. And majority of the people surrounding these guys who are involved with boxing, they just see that dollar bill, y'all, Wu-Tang Cream. This $100 million fight, maybe close to $150 million in revenue is going to be generated. Some crazy numbers that they're anticipating. But I just don't think these two gentlemen, they're not kids anymore, but I'm going to refer to them as kids, and I think you'll understand the direction I'm taking the conversation. I don't think these kids should have picked up the chaos that their fathers left back in 1993. There were two fights between, let me just show you, right? Because I was looking at this, and I was like, man, this is interesting. Now, this right here is Chris Eubank, Sr., okay? He went by the name of Simply the Best. He had 45 wins, 23 KOs, 5 losses, 1 loss by KO. Said 5'10", 73-inch reach. Half of his fights won by KO, all right? Now, this is what I'm getting at here. You come down to 1993. October 9th, 1993, Chris Eubank Sr. beat Nigel Benn. This was their rematch. He beat him by split decision, okay? Then you come down to 1990, right here. November 18th, 1990, a very ferocious fight. Both men were hurt, but Chris Eubank Sr. went on to get a TKO win in the 9th round. That's 1990 and 1993. What are these guys, these kids shouldn't have to pick up where the fathers left off. It's done and it's over with. When you go dwelling in the past, you miss out on future opportunities. However, the fathers' past created present-day opportunities for their children. I just think it sucks that Eddie Hearn, Turkey on a Sheik, and any and everyone else who's involved with this fight have been pumping life into it. And I watched Chris Eubank Jr., this man is grieving. His brother, whatever with his dad, because his dad hasn't handled his brother's loss well, which is understandable. Conor Benn's over there. He's grieving. Because, look, if you ask me my opinion about Conor Benn, you can see Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. both are genuinely good human beings. But when I watch Conor Benn, he's very temperamental. He's an emotional wreck. And to me, his emotional outbursts and outlandish aggression has done nothing but snowball ever since he failed 2 tests, right? And as a result of failing those tests, the initial fight between he and Eubank Jr. was called off, and Conor has done nothing but try to plead his case and convince the boxing community that, hey, I'm innocent, I didn't knowingly take anything, and he still doesn't want to accept the fact that something was in his system. Normally I would drop a hold your horses, let's not take it to the stupid. But all I'm going to say is, only Conor Benn knows. However, my observation, since Conor's return back to boxing, after Eddie Hearn finagled a way to get Conor to have some fights in the States, and then for him to finally have his suspension lifted, Conor Benn hasn't looked like the knockout puncher that he was. True, he was fighting some guys a little bit bigger than him, but at the same time, you got to look. Conor Benn wasn't really that devastating of a knockout puncher in the beginning of his career. Then he developed the vicious one-hitter quitter. Got into all that shit with Eubank Jr., and the one-hitter quitter went away. But when I look at this, man, I have a feeling one of these guys, it could be both, are going to spiral out of control. It's already happening, man. I watched the interview with Piers Morgan with Conor and Eubank Jr. First of all, Piers Morgan is he's got a job to do, but he's also a prick, right? He seemed biased to Conor Benn, in my opinion. And I know he's playing devil's advocate to try. The more he plays devil's advocate, the more emotion he can stir up in the interviewees, and the more they talk, the more content, better for ratings. I get it, but he's still got some prick in him, okay? And watching Conor Benn and Eubank Jr., I'm saying, man, these two guys, no one can understand them better than each other. They came up in their father's shadows. They're where they are because they can fight. But being Chris Eubank Sr.'s son and Nigel Benn's son didn't hurt those guys. You would think these two would probably be the best of friends. You know what I'm saying? They're both half black, half white. They're biracial. Both of the dads were outstanding fighters. The whole of UK loved their fathers. Fathers had 2 amazing wars. You'd think that the children would, and they're both in the boxing, would be the best of friends. Seeing that the fathers have buried the hatchet years ago. But to see everything kind of resurface through the children as a result of greed, that shit, I find it quite bothersome. But at the end of the day, they're not children anymore. They're the children of those 2 outstanding fighters, veteran fighters. But they're adults. So they can make their own decisions, which they've done. And they've chosen, through being enticed by money, right, to go and fight. Now, I will tell you, in the first fight, I don't think there was any disdain for each other. Definitely no hate, which Piers Morgan kept trying to throw the word hate around during the interview. I thought that shit was corny. But again, I know what he's doing. But it's almost like East Coast, West Coast beef. Biggie and Tupac. You know what I'm saying? The media, they fanned the flame to a point to where both of them guys ended up getting killed. There were people getting killed from the East and West Coast that had nothing to do with that shit. Just a New Yorker was over in L.A., or a guy from L.A. was in New York, and people were getting killed. How stupid is that? But again, the media has a lot of power. So Piers Morgan was fanning the flame. And he can say what he wants or what he wanted about. Hopefully we can just, get through this. No physical altercation. He wanted them to fight to let their hands go. More ratings for him. His show thrives. But these 2 guys, ultimately, they're the ones who suffer. So as far as Piers Morgan is concerned, the interview I thought was really interesting. It gave us a peek behind the tent flaps to see what's kind of going on with the mental of these 2 guys. But after watching that, this whole thing about born rivals, I think these guys were more like, it should be like born brothers turned rivals. Because when I watch them, I'm like, these dudes have so much in damn common, man. It's crazy. But anyway, man, they're calling this Fatal Fury. It's a middleweight professional boxing match. And I just watch it, and I'm gonna tell you, man, I don't like it. I don't like it, man. I don't. Chris Eubank Jr., brother, he's always over there. I think he's in Dubai seeing his nephew. Dad isn't talking to him. Conor Benn is over here every opportunity he gets. He's kicking Eubank Jr., kicking him in the balls about his dad. Your dad doesn't like you. I think, but I guess, it's a fight, right? But I wouldn't say those things. And you can see what Conor Benn was like, I genuinely, from my heart, hope you, Eubank Jr., and your father can come together and this and that. But then in the same breath, you're like, your father doesn't like you. That's a fact. My man, Chris Eubank Jr. was looking at him like he was stupid. I would have been the same way. In one breath, you're talking about how you really wish the best for me and my father and the relationship to improve, right? But then you come now and then, 10 seconds later say, your father doesn't like you. It's like, just shut up and don't even talk about it. And that's why I agree with Eubank Jr. kind of being a bit standoffish and not even commenting, just having a little smirk on his face like, somebody shut this cockhole up. But we're going to see how this whole thing plays out, man. Because I'm telling you, if Eubank Jr. loses, let's see, whose impact is going to be greater in a win and in a loss? For Eubank Jr., if he beats Conor Benn, he's the larger guy, coming down to 160, but there's a rehydration clause. I don't think he's going to look that great to people if he beats a Conor Benn who's a much smaller guy bubbling up, okay? Like they say, a good big man beats a good small man. But if he loses to Conor Benn, I think the impact would be greater for Eubank Jr. as far as losing to a smaller guy. Above and beyond, you look at Conor Benn, talk about if he potentially loses to Eubank Jr. I have to be honest. If he loses to Eubank Jr., maybe the fact that he lost to Eubank Jr., he won't be as impacted in a loss if we're just talking about losing to Eubank Jr., because Eubank Jr. is bigger than him. But if we incorporate the fact that a lot of people have kind of moved beyond the fact that he failed 2 drug tests. If he loses to Eubank Jr., that drug testing stuff, which is still, people whispering about it, but it's not really in your face like it was before. It's going to be reintroduced to the whole world about this guy, lost to Eubank Jr., he went up in weight, he was a known drug cheat, and people aren't going to focus on the fact that he's coming up several weight divisions to fight Eubank Jr. They're just going to look at the fact that he lost, and it's because he doesn't have power, because he doesn't have the clomiphene in his system, he doesn't have the boiled eggs or whatever the crazy-ass excuse was for him having that shit in his system. That's what they're going to focus on. So when we talk about will the loss have a greater impact on Eubank Jr. or Conor Benn? It depends. Now, a win, I think definitely if Conor Benn wins, it'll be a greater impact for him. I think his career, I don't know how far it goes, but it takes off because the 2 drug tests now is gonna convince many that shit probably was a fluke. He came and beat a much bigger guy who can box. Eubank Jr. can fight, and he has power. They're gonna say he was a smaller guy as well, And they're not gonna talk that much about Eubank Jr. and the rehydration clause. They're gonna, I think, there's gonna be more positive reports about Conor Benn's win than anything negative. But still, when you come full circle and you think about the fathers fighting back in the 90s and all of that stress that was created for both fighters, in my opinion, they should have left it alone, man. Now, I'm gonna tell you this, man. This Matchroom Sports, Eddie Hearn, people are looking at Eubank Jr. and saying, why does he have so much malice towards Eddie Hearn? It's not hard to understand why he doesn't like Eddie Hearn. I wouldn't like him either. If you're a promoter and you know your guy tests positive for a banned substance, and you don't mention that, and you're in the week of the fight, and you knew your guy tested positive, but you were just gonna sweep that underneath the rug and allow your guy to enter the ring, knowing he had some shit in his system to go fight another opponent, that is dangerous. The same way Conor Benn came under fire for those 2 tests, Eddie Hearn should have come. Well, he was under fire, but it was more under fire with those people on the sidelines shooting him with a slingshot. Instead, they should have had a goddamn M16 riddling his ass with goddamn bullets. Because Eddie Hearn would have let Conor Benn get in that ring and damn near kill Eubank Jr., who was at that first fight was scheduled to fight at 157 pounds. So Eubank Jr. was going to kill himself to get to 157, and you know he wouldn't have been right. At 160, he's better, but still, 160, he shouldn't be there. He should be at 168. But they're meeting halfway on everything, but it is what it is. But for Eddie Hearn and Chris Eubank Jr., I can understand. You can't come out and release a statement. Ben has not been charged with any rule violation. He's not suspended and remains free to fight. And the fight's supposed to go ahead as scheduled. And then all of a sudden, the fight gets postponed. What a effing joke. Eddie Hearn was trying to cover that up. So for those of you who forgot what Eddie Hearn was trying to do to Chris Eubank Jr. underneath his nose, well, I just, hopefully I just refreshed your memory. And now you understand. But the bottom line is, they're set to face off here very soon, man. I think in April. And I'm telling you, Conor Benn, Eubank Jr., people, it's a sad fight. It's not the same energy and electricity like when their dads fought. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. You're talking about something that was captured in a moment in time that can't be recreated. They're trying to recreate it with their sons. There are a lot of people who are going to be interested in this fight and who are emotionally invested. And that goes all the way back to the people who are still around and remember the fathers fighting, the older generation. But then you also have the new generation that are familiar with these two. So promoters are looking at this like, shit, we can really clean up. We can rob the bank. And promoters should think like a promoter. But for me, and just watching these guys, I don't see 2 happy fighters, man. I don't see it. They don't look happy. I don't even think deep down they want this fight. I think they're doing it for money. And I think they'll say to themselves they should have never done it. They should have never done it. That's just how I feel, man. But I don't know. We'll see. Conor Benn coming up 2 weight classes. Eubank Jr. melting down where he probably shouldn't be. Neither one of these guys really want to budge. I don't know. Everybody wants to have this false portrayal of supreme confidence. I don't buy into that shit. I really don't. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, Eddie Hearn, all these promoters, Turkey Al-Sheikh, Fatal Fury, all this. Look, okay, sounds cool. I'm just telling you, I see two guys. One of them mentioned, I think Chris Eubank Jr. mentioned the mental health of his dad. I look at both of these guys and I think that they're struggling with their mental health as well. Now, again, I'm no clinical psychologist or nothing like that. I'm just a guy who's been around and have had thousands of people underneath me across 25-year career. And I can watch the body language and I can listen to the things a person says, and I can watch where they're hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold, and I can know that there's something deeper going on. And when I watch Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, there's something deeper going on with both of those guys. And for that reason, in addition to the fact that I don't think they should have picked up all of the bullshit that the fathers left 30 years ago, they should pick up all the greatness, all the positivity, bring that forward to present day, not the bullshit. It's the promoters and those greedy, bum ass people. They only care about themselves and their pockets. They don't care about in 20 years from now where these two are going to be mentally. 30 years from now, they don't care. They just care about right now getting paid. But at the end of the day, they're adults. They're going to make money hand over fist, and they agreed to the fight. But anyway, Conor Benn, Eubank Jr., I'm going to watch it. I personally think Eubank Jr. is going to delete Conor Benn. That's what I think. I have my own opinions about Conor Benn with the cheating and all that. I've done numerous videos about it. But for this video, you see I've tried to take my emotional stance out of it and just have a conversation. But what I will tell you is I do think Eubank Jr. will delete Conor Benn. Conor Benn just hasn't showed the power, man. And yeah, he's coming up in weight. But even he's talking about, hey, Eubank Jr., if you're fighting a welterweight. So Conor Benn has mentioned that several times. So for that reason, it tells me that there's some self-doubt there with Conor Benn. Furthermore, that could explain why he's being so brash. And again, I think it's unwarranted aggression. Also, he's the one that was trying to bully Eubank Jr., shoving him, getting in his face. So when Eubank Jr. finally hit him with that egg in his face and slapped the shit out of him, you notice that Conor Benn, he got his shit together real quick, didn't he? But when Eubank Jr. was sitting there being passive and allowing Conor Benn to push him and to mess with him, Conor Benn, his confidence was growing. He was just taking even more chances and opportunities to try to get at Chris Eubank Jr. Now that Chris Eubank Jr. drew that line in the sand and smacked Yoka and literally put egg on his damn face, and Conor Benn now, he's just, if anything, he's making a grand charge, but he's not putting his hands on him no more. Could be because of the $100,000 fine that Eubank Jr. received and Conor doesn't want it, but I'll tell you what, that got Conor Benn's attention. And Eubank Jr., that shit was overdue. But anyway, I'm going to leave it as that. I just don't think Conor Benn's going to be able to pull it off. And for those of you who are saying, well, Chris Eubank Jr. hasn't really looked that good, and look what Liam Smith did to him. How about this? Go back to those videos of Eubank Jr. when his dad was training him, hitting those mitts, hitting that machine with those mitts. You go back and you look at that animal that his dad created. Don't think that that guy doesn't still exist. Don't think that that guy doesn't still exist. You watch when they fight. I think Conor Benn's going to run into some shit in there that he didn't expect. And it's going to be all bad for him. But if Conor Benn pulls it off, he deserves all the credit in the world. And like I said, I think there'll be a greater impact to Conor Benn in victory. We just have to wait and see how it plays out. Y'all keep cool. I'm about to go exercise in the breeze.